Thank you, everyone in here, out there, and across the nation. Welcome to the Plan Commission meeting for April 21st. Just so everybody knows, if we have a public hearing or open it to the public, we would like you to state your name and your address for the record. So, without further ado, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open all the members.
All right. Jerry Styler.
Present.
Jessica Good.
Here.
Joel Samuelson.
Present.
John Hoden.
Here, sir.
Do you have any members online?
We do not, no, sir.
Okay.
And we have enough for one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir, we do. 5-9.
Oh, bare minimum.
All right, moving along, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the March 17th minutes.
I'll make the motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those abstain? All those recuse?
We'll get those signed and passed around if you would, please. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Moving along, case number 2026-P02. Is that the top one we have here, or is it in the binder?
It is in the binder, sir, in the binder. I apologize, the legal did not come through, I may have misplaced it, in terms of the hearing. If you take a look, the request on the back, on the banding of facts will give you enough for the legal and the request that's being made.
Okay.
It's a petition to replat by Alex Elliott, attorney of property owner 110 Culver Partners LLC. The property is 944 South Shore Drive, more specifically referenced, as you can see, we're within the legal. It is a simple replat of two lots that exist on the same parcel back into a single lot. This returns the property back to the status that it was in 2014 before the division, and the information that was submitted is included within your packet. It's a minor subdivision, and you can see the illustration for yourself. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so it's simple, just undoing what was done in 2014 to take two lots.
I'm going to be loose and fast with that date. I think that was the correct date, but yes.
Okay, so we're joining, we're not dividing anything down.
Correct, sir. And if you take a look at the illustration that I included off of Beacon, a rough measurement of the property provides 31 foot between the two structures that are currently there, which meets the side yard setbacks for an L1 district. There are no obstacles or structures within the way of that division, so it's a clean break. Mr. Elliott is also online currently if you want to entertain any questions to him. If you have questions, he'll entertain them.
I have no questions. Does anybody else on the commission have any?
Given the fact that we are doing this, we probably should open a public hearing. I think it's a proper procedure. Thank you, sir.
I will entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of it?
Thank you. Alex Elliott here online. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. Yes, it was a parcel combination done in 2016, and we're essentially just undoing that combination with a slight difference in the width of the previous parcels. But it does comply with the L1 zoning ordinance, and we didn't see any problems going into the project.
Oh,
Happy
so
to answer any questions.
it's an undoing of adjoining, so you're making two parcels out of one, or?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, the two parcels were joined in 2016. This is unjoining them.
Okay. I misunderstood. I apologize.
Okay. understood it the other way.
Yeah. We were understanding it was.
Mea culpa.
One parcel and two.
Yeah, and I may have said that. My apologies, Alex. I appreciate you coming back on top of that.
What's going to
No
be
problem.
done with this, with these parcels?
They're going to be for residential use. The owners just want to have the two parcels. I believe the one half of the ownership will use one house as residential and the other will use the other as residential purposes.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
If I'm understanding right, is there two structures already on these properties?
There are two structures on this property.
And it's on one single property right now?
It is on two separate lots at the moment. Yes. They're combined.
No,
Oh, excuse me.
One
go ahead.
combined lot. We're separating them into
That-
two lots.
Thank you, Alex. That's what,
I'm just saying
Trying to go
prior
across.
to this right here,
yes.
there was already two primaries on the one property?
Exactly.
That's, one was Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe one was used as a utility garage. Correct me if I'm wrong, I can't even get the.
Yeah,
color.
I guess one is technically the main house. The other one does have sleeping quarters and more of gaming and facilities for entertainment purposes, as I understand it.
That's correct. It was where the state police would often stay when Mr. Ursay was in town.
They're on the same utilities, apart separate?
I believe they're on separate. So what the filing is, it's on South Shore Conservancy for sewer. It's on a well and the ground is electric underground. Whether or not that's two separate, I don't know. But given the fact you are dividing into two properties and if one was to sell or something, that would have to be arranged and taken care of, yeah. And we are dividing it into, it's been a long day, guys, sorry. Okay. Any other questions, public?
All right. Anybody else online?
Nope, just me, I think.
Yeah, you've got a couple, yeah, but nobody's coming off. One person, but nobody's coming off. We're fine.
Okay. Well, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved? Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any other questions from the commissioners? All right, we're going to move along to finding of facts. So the commission shall determine if the plot conforms to the principles and standards required by the subdivision regulations.
Very back and on. I think it's in your folder. It's in the folder, Chester. Very back.
I got it.
Yeah, it's missing its top page.
Yeah, just rip it out the staple and you guys are good to go.
Due regard shall be shown for all natural features such as tree growth, watercourse, historic spots, or similar conditions which, if preserved, will add attractiveness and value to the proposed. Due consideration shall be given the prevention of air and stream pollution, proper treatment and disposal of refuse and other waste, and the elimination of other blighting characteristics. The subdivision layout shall be of such character that it protects the public health, safety, and general welfare of the town of Culver and its residents. In designing the streets, it's not really.
Does it go?
No.
In it. I'll take this, pass it around if you would, gentlemen. I'll put it on permanent file. The 21st. just tear it off just for fun.
Thank you very much. All right, there you go. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the replatting.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate time tonight and apologize for not getting the description correctly. Thank you.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a nice evening.
You too, thank you. All right, moving along. Discussion possible amendments to zoning ordinance with the ADU within R1 and addition of golf cart maintenance and repair in C1.
Okay, so if you take a look, not in the folder, but the 1,000 documents that we have, there's several possible resolutions to move forward with. I would direct your attention first and foremost to the Article 6 Development Standards 300 accessory dwelling. We've been discussing this for some time. I submit this to the planning to take a look at the general standards. Right now, it's very interesting. With our House Bill 1001, there's some serious discussion going on with planning, and ADU may not be an option. They're really pushing ADUs. I think we would be wise to recommend to council, and it is a recommendation from plan, to add an ADU section, and that way we can govern and show that we're responsible. I think that the ADU that we put together, this has been through many revisions. They've removed the dadu, and I think I've added one point that's new to this one, and it is, if I will, the fire separation. That's a key. I was talking to Ty Atley and what Plymouth does and some of the different policies. I was talking with Jeff Hewen as well. And fire, that's the major concern with the setbacks. And moving forward, we may have to deal with that anyway because they're starting to talk about loosening setback restrictions. I put in a caveat, a little clause in here that the property owner will be responsible for providing the town under fire section F, fire separation. They have to provide the town evidence that the required certification has been made by the Marshall County Building Inspector. I'm not a qualified building inspector. I need somebody that can govern that and confirm it, but I think it's a must if we're going to allow this, especially within the setbacks, if it's a tighter setback with an ADU. I think it's something that's wise. It also gives us a mode of confidence, so if they come in here, right, with a smaller variance or a smaller separation, if they have that certification. I would ask the Plan Commission, and I'll distribute this to the members that aren't here as well. This is for your consideration in editing, and if we can by next meeting, I think we've, as my grandfather would have said, we've chewed this cabbage for a while. I think it's time that we either decide yes or no, and I would suggest that we do something. It doesn't necessarily have to be what's in front of you. I would welcome feedback, and I think if we can put it in front of the council with some informed decision as a recommendation, they can solicit also public opinion or feedback, and hopefully we can get something in the books. Nothing like revising a revision that we've just got done doing, but that's okay. We've got several of them to do. So that would be my first one that I asked for your consideration.
But before you go on,
Yes, sir.
Can you say more about fire separation? Like what
that
looks like entails?
No, Don, that's why I'm having the budget. Okay. Yes, sir. Firewalls, basically.
Okay.
If you're going to have a structure that is an ADU, and if it's in proximity to the primary structure, less than 10-foot setback, for example, I think that's fine. I think we'll find that's going to be common, possibly, but we're also going to need to be able to account that if one building catches a flame, that we try to secure both buildings, or we're going to have fire jumping. As a matter of fact, I think it's a responsible thing to do. In Philadelphia, it was code if you move beyond brick, right? Because of the tight proximity of the structures next to each other. And I think that in this case, I would insist on firewalls on the outer wall. And I would obviously, Don, before we do this officially, I think that's an area that I can educate myself and bring some more information to bear. I'll talk to Ty. I've been invited by Jeff Hewen to meet with the They're doing kind of a building commissioner across the county type thing. And Jeff Hewen was nice enough to invite me to come in and participate. I think there's some learning for me to do there. This is one of those things I'll bring to him, Don, and find out more, but I'll talk to Ty this week probably.
Does Plymouth have an ADU ordinance?
Can you help me out, Kevin?
You mentioned Plymouth, that's why I just.
No, they
Honestly, they're waiting on Culver.
they truly are.
Honestly, I'm on that zoning review committee, and I mentioned that Culver was working through it, and they said, well, let Culver work through it, and maybe we can just, work from there, so.
They actually did that
you guys
twice
were
to
ahead
me.
of us.
They did that twice to me, but it wasn't the ADU, there was something else.
It's flattering.
Yeah, it is, but I think Jeff was talking about an accessory structure. They're a little looser with the setbacks, or, I know he was mentioning it, and that's where I got inspired by the firewall idea. It wasn't necessarily ADU, but I think when the variance is looser, or when the buildings setbacks are not met, they're kind of insisting on firewalls now more and more, so.
I think it's a 5-foot setback, and that's a building code thing, not a.
It is.
It's not a zoning thing.
No, it's not, but I think their building code is insisting on those firewalls.
Insisting on firewalls, including windows and
Yeah.
everything else, so it becomes.
They're well versed in it.
That's outside of outside of zoning. So.
But that's why, that's why I phrased, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, for some feedback, but that's why I asked Marshall County Building Inspector to confirm it. We can ask for that confirmation, I think. I think it's well within our rights zoning wise to have that confirmed. I'll ask that question.
Honestly, I think it's just his inspection thing. He's going to require it because it is
Oh, you
zoning
think-
code, and he has to require it. So
Okay,
if
that's
you-
good to know.
If you go past that line, then he would have to waive it, and more than likely, he's not going to waive it. That's
Awesome.
not something to waive.
You know who I can call? Adam Combs. He'll tell me, right? I'll talk to Adam. I'll give a call to Adam.
So we're talking about detached ADUs, that there's so much separation between the detached ADU and the main house.
That's it.
When you say fire
It's
separation.
more about the ADU and the adjacent property.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, I don't know how they're going to talk about it inside, because it's your property against your property with the
That's
ADU.
The
internally.
primaries.
With, your primary and your ADU, I don't know that the same rules apply as it does when you get too close to the property line and there's actually a setback. That becomes a different issue.
These are good questions that I can ask Adam and do some education. And I apologize, I just think it was a good idea to build it in because I saw it in a couple models across the state, but they don't go into that specific a detail within it. And I think that's worth investigating. I would argue that if your primary catches your AD and your ADU is next to another property, we're gonna have ourselves a regular Chicago 19th century thing going on.
But
Yeah.
again, if your ADU is that close to the property, then a firewall is required on that
Absolutely.
side of the ADU.
Fair.
Not necessarily between the ADU and
And the
your
primary.
primary.
That's fair.
No,
That's
I'm
fair.
understanding.
Yep.
Thank you.
No, I'm actually getting confused. The question I have is, for a situation we had not too long ago, which is in my mind of why the situation is very pertinent, is when City Tavern burned down. And that house is built basically on the property line and got very close to danger. Was it built after City Tavern was allowed to be built that close to a property line without having a firewall on it?
All of those were way before
Oh,
okay.
the codes were required.
Yeah, that wasn't City Tavern either. That was,
Liberty Stable.
that was, exactly. That was Ford dealership, I think. wasn't it?
Yeah, that was long after Liberty.
Yeah, that
Stable.
was,
Yes.
yes.
That's just a timing thing. It's different rules now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, cheers, Kevin. Thanks for the feedback.
thank you.
I have a general ADU question. I bet we've answered it some way. I never visualized it until the other day. On College Avenue, just right in my neighborhood, there's a new house going up, just west of Lakeview, just east of Lakeview. There.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
The house next to it, a little tiny house that has an address in the wrong block of Lakeview.
To the north?
To the north. Well, to the west of the new construction.
Yes.
North of College Avenue.
Yes.
South of the Marshall's house.
Yes, I'm there with you.
Right. That house is the size of the garage of the new house next door. And it's in the location of the
You're being
garage.
generous for that little house.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
So my question is, could I build a new house on that lot, leave the little house that's there, build a new house, call the new house the ADU in the little house? Do we care?
There would be no reason you couldn't. You have to, within this ordinance, there are minimum size and maximum size. As long as you meet those qualifications, if you build a new primary and declare that as your primary,
But yeah, so I could do that. I could build a new primary, you can't do that.
You can do what Kevin is saying, you can't do the other way, because unless you changed it in the language in the ADU said the ADU had to be smaller than the primary.
So I could build a new primary.
It has to be
You could build a
larger
new
though.
primary and then
And make the old
declare
primary
the other
ADU.
one an ADU, that would work.
That would work, okay, yeah.
So I'm batting 1 for 3 tonight. That's not bad, boys. I got one.
There you go.
Record, eh?
Thanks, that's clear to me, and as I say, we probably said it 12 times, I had never registered with me what the deal was.
No, you really haven't. That's why I did poke holes in this thing. It's not perfect. I was kind of pulling what Don sent me and Steve had been working on and a little bit of research. This doesn't look too different than what I inherited from Don through email.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, this is open.
I know we don't have a public hearing on this, but, with what he said as far as there on college, you can talk about it. But if you were gonna change it over, you know, like one like that, your ADU and build a new house, wouldn't the position of that house as far as meeting setbacks for the ADU before it could actually be approved? Would you have to look at the setbacks and everything else? I mean, as far
Yes.
as doing it, I mean, you would have to look at both structures that you're already have and the one you're gonna add. So, I mean,
That's
you've got
gonna
a
be-
whole lot more to look at than just,
I think it's going to be one of the more difficult things that's going to be brought before the BZA. Because I could see that happening with an increasing frequency, and there's going to be requests for variances.
yeah.
Off
But
of
I'm just
that,
wondering
so.
if it already exists and then you're gonna ask for a variance because of the house that's already existing.
Yes.
To make an ADU, and ADU, it wouldn't fit the requirements as far as the setbacks. Now, you're gonna have to get a variance for that building.
Unless, this is where the state's going, Barry, and Don put me onto it and been emailing me back and forth, and I've been talking to some different individuals, but everything the state's doing right now is about density. It's about building density through ADUs, it's about, I mean, they may tell a municipality what the setbacks, they are starting to really push against large setbacks, or larger setbacks, and 10 foot would be the side yards. They're gonna consider that large. They're probably gonna push for a 5 foot setback maximum. And, which in some ways is good, some ways maybe not so good. I'm gonna guarantee you, if we tell them 25 foot front and back, that's gonna be a thing of the past, I have a feeling. Now, that one probably is gonna be less susceptible than the side yard setbacks, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. But everything they're doing legislatively encourages growth and density. And that, we have large lot size minimums, with 70 foot, when they were laid out by 50 foot plans.
Right.
It's great. Our corner lots, for example, I was gonna bring it up during town manager's notes, but we may need to ask the plan commission because it's gonna probably come down our pipe one way or another, to revisit our rule on corner lots, where we have declaring 2 front yards. I think that we need to take a look at the address side being the front yard and declaring a side yard.
I would love to switch my side yard and front yard, actually. Not that anybody else cares, but I'd rather the address be on Houghton Street than Lewis Street.
Sure. But I think that it's been, and there are hardships that are created, and it's just one of those things that might be coming at you, that for consideration. But on that note, there's several other things.
I just
Yes, sir.
noted one typo on the last page of your draft ordinance,
Aha.
which is probably carried over from mine.
I'm
The
gonna blame you.
very last line. First of all, we still have, you still have reference to values in there.
I do, I saw it.
Then shall not exceed 100 square feet.
Yep.
That's a New York City apartment. Not a Culver residence.
10 by 10. It's
Yeah, 10
adorable.
by 10. Yeah.
These are,
I think you dropped a 0 there.
you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, in Paris, that's, you're living large. All right, yeah, seeing that the minimum Don is 350, that would be a logical assumption. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. I would like to jump to what John shared with us in terms of naming. I think I included it. I hope I did. Very good. All right. The street names. It's a resolution, looks like this, gentlemen, if you don't. Yes, I would like to take it for a drive. And before we do, give me a month, if you would, please. Sometimes I like to be able to inform council before I bring them stuff, and sometimes apparently I don't. Okay. I need to find out logistically, this is cost.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put this to vote before the council without giving them at least a month of prep time, because we're coming back on top of there's some controversy on this too. We haven't acquired the streets yet, and I don't see us doing that until they fully commit to the phase 1 being completed. We're not going to take this in step by step or parcel by parcel. What I'm saying is we have time. With that being said, I'm going to use that time to get some cost, do some prep, and take this thing out for a test drive, John.
Sure.
And see where we're at.
I would, for what it's worth,
Yes, sir.
in the first bullet point, it says Rosalind and Redgate. It should be Rosalind at Redgate.
Ah,
I realized that
I
even my cities do not.
was praying that you would catch your own mistake. I was offended by it.
I knew that people were going to be up.
We also might have an opportunity in the park to do some things to honor some authors.
Yeah.
As we look at that as an art cultural ready project, maybe for little.
There's still Lou Wallace, for instance, just
Yeah.
to take one more thing that I didn't mention.
Yeah, and the guy called Culver the most beautiful place on earth. I mean, we owe him a shout out for that.
Recycled Ulysses Grant at the time, but still.
Always the primary story. Next one that I would suggest that we take a look at for your consideration and feedback. Again, not asking for anything tonight, but I think these are things coming our way. Addition of the golf cart, that was brought before us. Looking at it, we had conversation about this. This one might be a little bit, I hate that term, I can't believe I used it. I think this might be ready before the others. We made that amendment to C2. We cannot give full golf cart sales and access to C1 because of the property restrictions. It's just not intended to be outside sales or have outside storage, but we can certainly do maintenance and repair within the structure. And I think you guys arrived at that in the last conversation we had. I would ask that you look at this. I'll be reaching out in a week or two. I'd like to put this on the agenda for a vote for next month, and then bring it before council and get their approval to make the ordinance amendment. But I'll keep you updated. If you see error or anything that I'm missing, I just went whereas crazy, by the way, because I love a good whereas. But take a look at that and see what you think, and I'm happy to edit and adjust it any way that you see fit. But I think it is something that we need to address on a roll. I'm going to go right into town manager's update because dinner's waiting for all of us.
Yeah, sure. You just proposed. So we're just going over the ADU, looking over that. We're looking over the resolution for the roads, and then we're just going to look over the resolution.
I would focus on the two. The first one though is the golf cart. Make sure that's in, because I think I want to throw that in the mix for next month. The ADUs, I'm up to suggestion, but I think that we need, and I'll ask if we want to put that on the agenda. I've been driving the agenda. I'd like your opinion a little bit more on it. And then the last one, I think with John's, I think we're going to take that out. I'm going to see, and I'll report back as we move forward. But that probably will be, we got to wait till we take till we have it ceded over to the town. And I could always ask Mr. Collins to replace him. I'm sure he would. Anyway. Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
He's making money.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that they were just proposed out there for us to review for next meeting to possibly have on the agenda. I just want to make sure we kind of finalize what we were planning on doing with all those. So.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Not on my A game tonight. You got to help Joe. Corner lots, we've discussed a little bit. I'm going to put something together. I haven't done any comparative with other communities. I'd like to see how other communities, and that's another topic I'll talk with Ty and Plymouth about, and see what's going on. That doesn't necessarily mean it's right for culvert, but I'd like to get some ideas about that.
I imagine there's something on the books, because a lot of corner lots typically have the same equidistance from both streets, so they probably behave with a different front yard setback because they have technically two,
They do,
so.
they do. And in the town, you can really see it when you drive around, then you can see where this kind of got ignored. What power does the town currently have to govern the changing of an existing lot's parcel elevation and its impact on drainage? I've got a situation that's interesting in town. State of Indiana is very clear. State of Indiana says rain's a common enemy. Guess what? If you change the elevation of your property, that's fine, as long as you're not draining onto your neighbor's property and creating an issue, a nuisance. The water still, our ordinance reads, within our ordinances in Article 6, it's Article 6, that you have to get the water either to a ditch or a storm system. Road is fine. We have a problem in the current status. I want to show you a film. Now, keeping in mind, we've had 100-year storms. We had a 100-year storm, and we've had some neat belly washers. You'll take a look at the video really quick on the television. I'm working through it with a property owner right now. I'm hoping there's an amicable solution to this with the property owners. I turned down the sound, but there's a retaining wall. This is a home up by the root beer stand. You might be familiar with it. The retaining wall was installed. Everything is to code and legal. I've talked to Adam Combs about it. But we've got an issue going on, and I apologize if the video is not that great, or that my finger gets in the way. But that's creating, you can see that the runoff is clearly coming over the retaining wall. It is eroding the property. It is creating a flood situation for the neighbor's property. What has happened is this low spot used to be an existing grade that ran into the next property. The next property was elevated by 3 foot at least. Now, the only standard he has to keep is the 35-foot height. He has to subtract whatever he fills from that height. That retaining wall is well within his right. But you can obviously see this has created an issue. I don't know what to do. Now, I do have ordinance from the zoning ordinance allows me to address his water backflowing onto that property. Correct? And I'm going to exercise that ordinance.
It says the property owner is responsible for retaining that water
Yes,
on
sir.
their property.
Yes, sir.
So
And yes,
they are responsible, I think is the way it reads, I'm not sure.
it is. They have to get it to an acceptable drainage.
Right.
And it cannot be your neighbor's property.
Right.
You can't run across.
Is the grade for the new property where it's going to be, or are they going to drop it along that wall? Which
It
I don't
looks
know
like-
If you'd want to do that,
Jerry, it looks like they've graded it to the top of the wall.
but it's still under construction, I mean, that could change.
And that's why I've waited, but there is an issue both to the west and east side of that wall where the water's coming around it as well.
Okay.
And he's not gonna be able to drop that grade enough, or he's gonna be backwashing into his foundation of his house. He's gotta move that water down. Now, what he can do is drop it on back to the north on that foundation wall, but now he's got that running down the wall. He's gotta get it either moving east or west from that wall. In my opinion, right? And again, I'm not here to tell him how to build. What I'm here to do is probably exercise and say, you know what? You're breaking the ordinance here, and we gotta address that at the very minimum. But that's one issue. Even if he addresses that drainage issue and moves his water off of his property, he's well within his rights, and he has created a hardship here, and there's no mechanism in town to be able to deal with that. And the state's very lenient about it. I've seen something in Marshall County's ordinances. I want to talk, I've got a lot of conversations with Ty and Phil and the guys up north, and I need to spend some time educating myself. And I've talked to Adam about this and Phil. I want to talk to Ty, Allie a little bit, but this is an interesting situation. And I'm not quite sure how to, I can handle the water backflowing north onto the property, but after that, I don't know what I'm going to be doing with that. And right now, I talked to the homeowner back to the north that's having the hardship. He's working with the property owner. He's been told there might be a resolution. It's something that's been talked about for a while, but we'll see what kind of resolution we can get.
Kevin, if I may,
Yes, sir.
there was a situation several years ago And I talked to Ty Adley as well about this, and this was over on L1 on East Shore. But what he came up with is what his answer was when it comes to that, and the neighbor is the one that's complaining about the water, it's like, he was pretty well saying that this is if it was subject to nothing in our ordinances required, then it would actually be a civil suit between the two.
And that's where the state of Indiana weighs in at, and that might be the resolution, Barry, or between the neighbors. It may be a civil
Between Ty
matter.
and myself, and
Sure.
this is what, myself, I was just asking.
No,
I didn't have an opinion one way or the other, but, mean,
I wanna make
that
sure
was what
that-
he told me, that it wasn't anything that they could do or we could do.
Nope.
Basically.
And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that I've exhausted everything that is possible. But we do have one mechanism for the drainage, and that's what we're gonna follow. And we have that other issue in other places where we're trying to work it out. Water seems to be an issue this year. Apart from that, there's one other matter that I want to bring to the Plan Commission's attention, if I can. Included in the packet, I think I put Development of Standards, Article 6, and this has to do with the height requirement. I ran this through the BZA last week. It has to do with the property on East Shore about the height. There are two standards for calculating height. And I asked the BZA their opinion because there's two separate calculations. If you take a look towards the back page, 127 and 126, excuse me, there's an alternative formula with figure B that accounts for properties that are built in which the grade in the middle is not congruent or equal to or representative of the property itself. So you have a dip or a raise in the middle of the property. This is a vacant lot scenario. If you take a look at the front page on 123, vacant property, I've circled where the center of the building is. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we don't have that.
You do not have this.
No.
Well, that's great, because I thought I copied that. Yeah. My apologies, gentlemen. Oh, I know why, because when I printed out the PD, oh, that's wonderful, though. Well, let me hold on to this. But what it is, basically, is an alternative formula. Regardless of where that is applicable or not applicable, this gentleman, the property owner, doesn't think that the calculation of his center point for his height calculation for the total height of the building is accurate. Regardless of this formula, I'm just here to tell you that there may be an appeal process. According to the ordinance, the appeal will come before the Plan Commission. And I read that correctly. And at least I made a copy for myself, I think, and at least it's in here. But yeah, the Plan Commission will be the kind of the governing body of the appeal. And I haven't talked to the homeowner's attorney subsequent to the BZA meeting. I'm not sure what his course of action is going to be, but I wanted to make sure that that alternative formula wasn't something that could just apply without having an appeal. BZA thought that this is something that needs to be appealed. That if they want to reconsider the calculation of the height or 0 point, that has to be approved by the Plan Commission. So I will probably email you that process according to the ordinances, but you can anticipate at least, I should find out something this week and anticipate a case maybe next week or next month for an appeal. Okay? It was a case that was left by Steve. And Steve mentioned this alternative formula. I see someone smiling. No. Back row. No. But yeah, no, this has been a difficult one. And I think we can be fair about it. And I think that it's an interesting case at the very least, due to where the property is and the way that it's aligned. So I appreciate it. Sorry I've taken up a lot of time tonight.
Care if I add something to that, because I know you explained a lot of it, but there were some parts that we discussed with BJ. And one of the things is procedure on this right here, because you got more than just options. You got that property owner has the option to appeal his decision as far as it, which would come before the BZA. And the other option is that he can be brought back into the Plan Commission personally with everything, and you'll see in the development standards as far as the process for this. But he can come in and present to all 9 members at present everything that he is proposing and what he wants to do and why he's doing this.
Yeah.
And that was my suggestion. I wasn't a vote, wasn't anything, my personal thing was that it's a very unusual case. And I thought it would be good for the Planning Commission members to be presented with everything that he does before he ever goes before an appeal to his decision. In other words, you could move that one step forward. He would take it out of his hands, put it into the Planning Commission's hands by recommendation or whatever from the Building Commission.
So,
But I just...
and I'll read to the following, if you guys don't mind. Recourse of dispute of natural grade. If the property owner and the building commissioner cannot come to an agreement on the natural grade, the property owner may request clarification from the Plan Commission. The following items must be presented to the Plan Commission in order to obtain clarification. Boundary survey, setback lines including established points of adjacent properties, footprint and finished floor elevations of an existing structures on the site, proposed building footprint with measurable references to permanent points on the site. Sufficient points shall be verifications by the building commissioner. Topographic map of 2-foot or smaller increments tied to MSL. Permanent benchmark established on the site. Benchmark should be included 50 foot. Sections through the building footprint as described in the definition of natural grade. Registered surveys calculation of the natural grade, the existing grade within the building footprint based upon a 10 by 10 grid. There's all of this that has to take place, okay? Needless to say, I'll be inviting our lawyer to that meeting.
So what, did the BZA take any action?
No, and there was no
We can't
action.
take
Well,
any
yeah,
actions
okay.
until you present it back to, you know, you...
There's no
direct
action.
them.
What I wanted clarification was the reading of the alternative formula. When can it apply, when it can't apply. One of the keys to this is that it's a vacant lot, right? And that the key phrase here is when the center is not representative of the whole lot. The problem with this is we're not dealing with a center of an existing level. We've leveled the property. The property has been elevated, or not above natural grade, by the way. It's still sitting 2 foot below natural grade, but the property has been leveled. It's not a hardship that's caused by a center dip in the middle of the property. So therefore, it's not applicable here. But if you read it, since it's below natural grade, you could say, well, that's a hardship, and maybe we should, well, I'm not sure the ordinance calls for it, and that's what I wanted BZA's opinion on, and they provided it to me. So,
And we didn't really come to any conclusion, but
No.
it just presented to talk about it. But
They
it
helped
did bring up
clarify.
a lot of question marks.
yes, sir. And I appreciate the clarification. Moving forward in this job, I've tried to talk to you guys, I've talked to people who know, and that way I can hopefully prevent issues down the line that involve legal. So we're taking a look at this, we'll see what we can do. There's a lot of options here on the table. And there's a way,
Too many options in the way.
there truly is, in some ways, Barry, but we'll work with the homeowner, we'll figure out something. Whether it may not be exactly what the homeowner needs or wants, but we're gonna work on this and see if we can be, understand it and stay within our ordinances. That's it.
I was gonna say, wasn't there a discussion a few years back about building into a side of a hill, especially around lake properties? And that
Yes.
was a discussion of where does
Right.
grade actually exist, where does
Right.
center and everything, so.
Yeah.
We have to
It's
be,
nothing to that
But this
severity.
is just to look at a little bit different than what that scenario is, because,
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have the scenario that the option calls for, because it's been already pretty much leveled.
I was gonna suggest
So it's-
another amendment. I
It's
would
just
move
another
the word
thing there,
natural.
but, you know, when it's down from one end to the other, then it's pretty much your L1, I mean, on L1 because it's on the lake. You've got the high water position and things like that that comes, which could be looked at this as well, but anyway. To look at it, or whether it be coming before, and I guess I'm just talking from experience from both seats. And I just know that I would personally would really respect planning commission to look and have ears on the whole position. I hate to take up your time, but at the same time, I think it'd be time value.
Yeah, I think it's something that's gonna increasingly happen. And the words natural grade aren't applicable because it's an existing grade.
That's the other thing that we're
The
looking
grade's
at
been
too.
altered so much.
Whether
that
you
there's
call
no
it natural grade or
there is no
virgin
natural
fill,
grade.
then it's the existing grade.
100%.
What's the difference?
And there's different fills.
Mhm.
There's a fill to level a lot and to create a level surface by taking out low spots. And then there's a fill because I want to try to build my house higher and raising it. And there's a differentiating factor that needs to be considered there, I think. What is the purpose of filling the lot? Are they trying to get extra height? Are they trying to build a level surface so they can actually construct something that's sound, right? And so those are all circumstances that may be factors, they may not be, but moving forward, it may come before this. And I just wanted to let you guys know, and I'll actually send you copies of the ordinance. I made a mistake before I'm out of the job. Somebody find a new one.
It's not that easy.
I'm sure it's not. But thank you, Mr. President. That's it for me tonight.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
We'll move right along to citizen input.
Just a question on what Kevin said. Has there been documentation that they did the fill without getting permits? Because I think that's going to be critical, particularly if you go forward on this. And you haven't given a permit yet, so any fill out there obviously was done without a permit.
I have not, and I won't speak to that because the permitting for that would have been done at Marshall County, I would assume, and prior to my position here. Well, I'm sounding like a British politician today.
Well, the out on that is that there is a erosion control permit
Yes.
required if there's more
Yes.
than 500 feet of ground touch, so they would have done more than 500 feet. So
Oh, yeah.
you have a local permit that was not obtained to do that work.
And again, that permit would have happened before I got here.
Okay,
But it would be on
It
record.
would have been, but I can look it up.
but you can look and see if they've got it, and if not,
Yes,
you
sir.
might want to document that before it gets too ugly, because that shows they were violating things.
This case was difficult from the very
No,
beginning.
it's not
and we spent
natural
time
grade
with it.
anymore.
I will build a folder and I have a file already on it. Kevin, I was not aware, I thought that was a Marshall County, I apologize. And even if prior to my existence, it would have went through Steve. So let me see what Steve has on file. I have his files, so thank you. Appreciate that heads up.
I just think tying it down now, even if it wasn't tied down at that point, tying it down now
I think
is
that's
going to
I
be
think that's
something,
prudent advice, sir.
another card you can play.
Yes, sir.
That was the question.
I appreciate it.
My other comment was, and I don't know if you want to handle this, because it sounds like you may have been in a meeting since I was, but the conversation about a countywide zoning meeting and doing some things on that.
Yeah, and I mentioned it really loose, but at One Marshall County, I sit with Jeff Ewan. I've gotten a strong relationship with him, and he invited me to the club. He said he'd like us, we're trying to get together as building commissioners from all the different communities and get some consistency, at least in definition, if nothing more. But I think there's value in that. Nobody's suggesting that Culver relinquish its control over its ordinances, but the consistency and having input. In several conversations, both with Ty and Jeff, I found value because they have the same problems and the same issues, and the state is actually kind of nudging us. And I think the more that we show consolidarity, cooperation, and discussion on a county level, the more autonomy, for lack of a better word, I guess, the more autonomy we can maintain within our standards, and we may benefit from it. Always enter these things cautiously, but this was a nice offer, and I think it's one that I'm going to follow up on, and I'll report back. And if you have questions or anything, I'd like to be able to take those in the bag up north and see if we can't get some answers. So.
Is it an informal thing, or is it an actual?
It sounds
meeting,
like
or-
it's more informal, Kevin. It's not.
It's informal at this point, and just to use an example, if MCDC has someone that comes to Plymouth and they can't find the spot, but they need a C2 spot or an I1 spot to do it, the idea is that Culver's I1 is similar enough and Bremen's I1 is similar enough that it doesn't mean they have to start this whole matrix and start their whole process over again.
Yeah.
It would allow somebody to look at the whole county fairly easily. So that's where this was coming from. It was also like the ADU thing, maybe we can divide and conquer some of these things because several of the communities are going through zoning revisions at this point. Why all of us do the same work over and over again?
Yeah.
It would still come to each community to be reviewed and before it got into their particular ordinance, but it should streamline things across the board. The last thing for you guys to be aware of is that there is still a movement in the county somewhat of going to area zoning, which does away with the local zoning.
Yeah.
And because La Paz has fallen, it only takes one more community and they could impose it if they wanted to.
And we're
So
done.
you always have to be aware of that cooperation is better, because at some point if somebody gets tired of dealing with it, you know, Argus is a good example. Argus could very easily say, you know, we don't have enough area, we don't need to do this, we could just let the county do it. Then if the county wants to, they can take everything.
And finding building commissioners right now, it's a
It's a
difficult thing to
problem.
do. And right now, I mean, we're using Marshall County's building commissioner, and I'm very comfortable with that because.
Building inspector.
Inspector, excuse me.
Inspector, yeah.
Sorry. And to a certain degree, yeah, the planning commissioner, but yeah, the building inspector, Adam, I call him commissioner, fine. And it's worked out well. But the other thing too is with the cooperation that Kevin's mentioning in the zoning, the moratoriums that are being passed by the county are essentially no more than, I mean, their zoning ordinance is basically mandated. You're not gonna put X here, and especially in the industrial, right? And so with solar, that kind of stuff, one that hasn't made the mandate yet, that we've talked with Bremen, I've talked with Argus and Bourbon, it's these industrial farms, especially when you're talking about chickens, and defining those and confined agriculture. That's industry, that's not agriculture, mind you.
Yeah.
And there's a blurry line there, and I want to bring that to the table and see where they're at, because it's hitting Bremen right now. They're having incredible difficulties with the chicken confinement. But yeah.
If I understand it right, the county's moratoriums are only on what the county controls, not anything in the local zoning, because it's a zoning.
No, you're right.
So right now, if the county wanted to say, if Culver wanted to say, well, we don't mind having a data center, we think that would be good for the county or for our area, and we want to put it on our extraterritorial boundary, or we want to
Yes.
take something in and put it in, the county might push the area zoning just to stop that,
Well,
knowing some of the people in charge right now.
Kevin, that's an interesting question. I'd like to follow up on that, because when you watch the news this morning, Stan and the boys aren't talking about, they're not talking about zoning areas, they're talking about Marshall County.
But I'm
sure, but
and I may be wrong, but
No, I don't know.
But my understanding is they can't do that at this point with the municipalities.
No,
They can't do that inside of our town
they cannot
boundaries,
do
or they
anything
can do it inside of our
inside
two
of
No,
our
boundaries.
zoning,
they can't.
In our zoning boundaries. I
our
don't
zoning
believe.
boundaries. I mean, that's why we looked at in the past to expand or use as much of our zoning boundaries as.
Well, that's why Culver passed a zoning ban on solar.
Right.
It would have been redundant because the
Right.
county already had it.
Right.
But we had to establish it.
We had to establish it as well.
So, okay.
But with this conversation, we'll talk about the county and that, don't go along with that, but I know I've had problems within Culver. Culver was unique enough that just a plain standard that Marshall County or Plymouth had doesn't always coincide with what we have to protect and, yeah. as
Amazingly,
far as
Plymouth doesn't
Culver,
have
I don't
that
want
one.
to forget what Culver is.
No, I'm sorry, Jeff said the same thing. How much I-1 do we have?
Yeah.
Right, we don't have the same issues that Plymouth has, they don't have an L1, but there is overlap.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's valuable, so,
Yeah.
especially in the commercial area.
Yeah. And then as far as citizen input, I want to put the fact that, in the past, we've had several ordinances that need to be amended. And I said we at that time, but I would really like to see the planning commission actually move forward with this. I know it puts a little bit more on Kevin or whoever's gonna take his place, whatever. But, I mean, I think we need to look at it as far as the, essential ones first. You know, I know a lot of these issues come up, but if we could address a lot of those amendments that need to be corrected and made, you know, whatever, it might actually take care of a problem before it exists, you know. In other words, we've had ordinances and some way or another in process between the county doing the whatever done, a lot of our ordinances started matching Marshall County than it did ours. Don't know how that happened, I'm not pointing fingers, but I know a lot of them changed in that process. And, I mean, as far as the process where it went, the changes and stuff that was made, they were updating our ordinances more than what we thought they were when they came before the town council to be approved. It was only supposed to be approving those changes, but it approved a lot more changes that they did. So, in the process, not pointing fingers again, but town council probably wouldn't really realize the ones that had been changed and what hadn't been, other than what they're reading. So, I mean, and it does happen.
Yeah.
But I know those amendments on those either need to be moved back to what original or looked at the way they are now. There's several ordinances right now that have a lot of vagueness to what it did before.
Do you have any specifics in mind?
Not right now. I know one of them that it used to not be two primary homes on one property. I know L1 was one of them, and I thought it was throughout the town. But there's nothing in the ordinances now that would stop that, for what I can find.
And that was kind of what it sounded like you were bringing up about that property that we just split today, is it had the ability to actually be an auxiliary dwelling unit, which technically kind of was utilized as, but it was not frequently enough used or housed for them to consider it a dwelling unit. It was just an apartment that was utilized when somebody was in town.
Yeah.
It was an ADU.
It was an
Before
ADU. But when you come down to it, I mean, I'm not saying it was wrong to split the property back, because it was probably a correct thing to do. But at the same time, looking at what the use of the other property, when you switched, I mean, we're only looking at splitting the property.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the reason I was asking about utilities, as far as electric, sewer, all that stuff.
My assumptions will be
I mean, when they
off the
address it, you're
record,
right.
so I'm not gonna say anything right now, but.
Yeah. Right.
It really,
But you're right, when it comes up to what they do, it's gonna be, it'd be addressed at that.
well, my understanding is that what they do with that property is what they do with that property.
Yeah.
What we've got to look at legally is whether or not we can split it, and there was nothing prohibiting that.
No. But I just would, I know it puts a lot on you, but I know Steve did have a pretty sizable list of ordinances that needed to be looked at.
Yeah, I've done a few of them already.
Yeah.
And that was round one, and those were mainly just corrections, but
A lot of it was just correcting wordage. I mean, a lot of it was.
yeah, we
you know.
added some things. There was a lot of additions.
And then a lot of them, you
Development
had a
standards.
controversy between your development standards and what your zoning for that particular zone is, you know, development standards. One would say one thing, you go back to the other page, and now it says something else. So it was, you know, which one do you go with? You know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, not to keep this a long term or anything like that, but I mean, I would like to look at those ordinances, maybe what Steve's already got a list, maybe Kevin can actually look at those and probably determine which ones need to be looked at first. I mean, I would have been happy I was going to at the time, that I was still in the planning commission, but I was going with Steve at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually looking at, you know, which one you think would actually be the most, or it's first, the second, third, and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of you delay them, and we've had that problem before. You know, we talk about this right here is not right, but then you got a case comes up, and then now you're stuck with going to what it's written.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all I have to say about that. But I would appreciate people actually looking at that, because we have got ordinances allow a lot of things now that those provisions don't stop. They're not there anymore.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've gotten a new book printed for myself. As we made
You haven't,
revisions,
because
so-
we just got it done last month.
Okay.
I'm doing it electronically too, so I'm putting in links, so you can move through the document quicker online, as well as outside the document when there's a Indiana code or something mentioned. I'll probably put it on the website in 2 weeks. I don't like putting things out there that aren't perfect. I read it 3 times, but you've seen tonight that I'm less than perfect when I'm not on my, so I'm trying to make sure that we're not.
That's what critics are for.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right. Commission member concerns and input. Okey dokey. And have a great day, everyone.
Hey, Kevin, on that replot, do you have a copy that has the full